The mic is open once again. I'm Alan Hoshida, your host, and we are talking this week with Jamal Mayers, NHL veteran, 915 games, Stanley Cup champ, does a lot of pre and post game with me on NBC Sports California. Hopefully we're running that back this year because I thought by the end of the year we got really strong, had a good rapport. So we're, of course, we're talking about the NHL, not just Sharks. We'll look big picture with the league. We'll talk about Mike Grier, what he's building, how Jamal sees it as his former player. And then we're going to talk to Jammer about his own career, play a little game. How well does he know his career? Spoiler alert, he knows it pretty well. And then we're going to wrap this thing up. The mic is open. We'll be wrapped up as we always do. We bring it back to dads or parenting advice. And Jamal Mayers has 3 kids, 2 teenagers that are elite women's soccer players, going to play D1 at Kansas State. His son is a AAA, 12 going on 13. So he has really good advice about raising athletes, but also just raising kids and how you let them drive the bus, as he says. But he also starts his whole podcast out with something that is minorly controversial when you are talking about raising your kids in sports. We just go back only a year, but it feels like we have a great rapport. And over the time that we had on pre and post, we had some fun, didn't we?
We sure did. I think that, you know what, we tried to make the best of it. It was a tough season, a lot of 1-goal games. And there's certainly a lot of positives to take out of it. And, you know, a little bit of, I was impressed by your ability we're not together. We're kind of doing things similar to what we are now. You know, we're not in the same place. So, but it took a couple times, couple pre-games, and then we got it down. I thought pretty good.
The good thing about this is I still can actually see you, whereas sometimes when you're in St. Louis doing that, we get cut off because there's video going and I can't see your lips moving. We're just flying blind, and we're just hoping that when we both shut up, you know, that's when the next person jumps in.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I think that would be helpful. Let's put that on the notes. Feedback camera would be nice.
Yeah. Well, with the mic is open podcast that I like to start out with. We all go through life and we all have, you know, things that grind our gears, as Peter Griffin would say on Family Guy. So the mic is open, my friend. Is there anything you need to get off your chest?
Sure. I think there is. I think there's this idea out there on social media that if you have kid that is specifically enjoys and loves one sport, and I'm very lucky, my older daughter's 19, gonna be a sophomore at Kansas State playing soccer. My 17-year-old will be a senior in high school who's following her to do the same thing and play college soccer in a Power 4 school. And my son plays AAA. He's 12 years old, as you know, turning 13. There is this idea out there, stop pushing your kids, stop making them focus on one sport. Let me tell you the way it works, Alan, if you don't know this. If you don't push them, they're not going to reach their goals or get to where they want to go to. If you don't focus when they're 13, 14, 15 on one sport, you're not going to catch up. That's the truth. I know no one wants to hear about it. You think everybody should play every sport? Yes, they should dabble in other sports. It's great for the development, not only cardiovascularly and mentally and physically, but at a certain point, you're going to have to, if you're at the top of the top, you're going to have to focus in on one sport. I'm sorry. I know that it's easy to say. It's different than it was 15 years ago. Times have changed.
I like it. And, you know, I am in the other the other belief on that is that I think you should play other sports. But you said at a certain point, and I think that's correct. Like, I think sometimes when kids start specializing when they're like 9 or 10, or at that point, that's when it's a little early. Let them play whatever. Now, when you're getting, like you said, your son's getting to 13, 12, he's starting to figure out what he really wants to do. And we could get there in our dad chat that's going to get to the end of this podcast. But I think you're right on there. I think at some point, if your kid is that good, they're going to also tell you that they probably only want to play one sport. And that's when you do that transition and push them forward and want to push them into greatness. So I like this conversation. We'll start here. We'll get there. I love it. We're going to circle back. But let's start with first things first. Obviously, we're hockey guys. I'm less of a hockey guy. You are an actual hockey guy. I just talk about it and pretend like I know what I'm talking about. But NHL offseason, it's kind of been a weird one where there hasn't been a ton of fireworks. Obviously, the Mitch Marner stuff. But what's your feel on this whole NHL offseason big picture?
I think what happens is over time, it's rather cyclical. And I think what you're seeing now is most teams, whether they like them now, like they had to lock up, or they did lock up their core younger players. And when you do that, you are able to have fixed costs. The challenge is that what happens is you shrink the market of what's available in the unrestricted market. So there are very few impact players that were available as unrestricted free agents. So I think what you're seeing is, and I know as a fan, and I'm a fan obviously of the Sharks and want them to go out there and make their team better right now. I think the reality is they're still in the mode of where they have to go and get serviceable, really good players like Toffoli, but not overpay
Hmm.
on dollar value and not overpay on term. And so what you're going to see and what you have seen is a few different 1 year, 2 year deals to get those type of players to come to San Jose. But I'll tell you what, um, I almost literally cried, and I think I told you this story when I thought I was going back to San Jose, and I didn't get to come back for a second season. Um, I don't. I'm not sure there's a better place to live for a family than in San Jose with all that there is to do, and we really did take advantage of it. We had two
Hmm.
young daughters, 4 and 7 at the time, and what we did, we decided when there was a day off, and I'm not sure if you know how this works, Alan, but you get on the plane and you're on the way back from, let's say, Carolina, you'll find out that night at 1 in the morning that tomorrow's the day off.
Yeah.
Not really a day off, but that's the day off you're getting. So we would always pack up the kids, pack up the girls, Monterey, Carmel, San Francisco, all those things, as you or everyone knows that's listening. There's so much to do right around San Jose that you get spoiled by all the things that you can do there when you live there. So I digress, but I try to get it all in there.
No, but I think that's a great point. And when we get to the Sharks portion of this, San Jose is a great selling piece, and it still continue to be a great selling piece. Contrary to all the belief that the Bay Area is too expensive, it is. But all the other stuff that goes with it, and we'll get to the Sharks. But first, before we get to San Jose, is there any move or anything that a team did that stood out to you that you think is going to be impactful here for the NHL storyline throughout?
Yeah, a couple that to me that really, one that's very obvious is I'm interested to see what Mitch Marner is able to do, not being the centerpiece, because they already have those types of guys. He certainly will be one of their best players. He's one of the best wingers, if not top three winger in the entire game. But interesting to see what he's able to do with Vegas and how he fits in and how that works. Um, Away from the Toronto hoopla and media attention and so forth. I'm also interested to see a lesser move, but one that kind of went under the radar is Evander Kane leaving and going to Vancouver. Um, I'm really interested to see how they're going to be able to fill that void. And when you look at the matchup that they had against Florida and the sandpaper and the grit and the toughness that they bring to the table, what are they going to do to match that? And I wonder if that was an error, getting rid of Evander, even though I know he has his issues. I know he could be a little disruptive and take the focus away from the team at some point, but he does bring a lot of what a lot of people don't bring to the table. So very interested to see what happens with that group. And then you look at another team in the same division as the Sharks in Vancouver, and you wonder, was that a blip in what happened last year for them? Um, are they going to get back to what they were a couple seasons ago? So a lot of question marks heading into the season for me that we'll wait to see how they're answered.
And he get Evander Kane going back to home to Vancouver, Vancouver
Yes.
Giant, his junior. Do you think that plays into these guys if they have a chance to go home or go to their place where their junior club was or something like that as they get later in their careers? Because Evander Kane's not a spring chicken anymore, and he's not in the first front nine of his career. But when it comes down later in your career, are those things you kind of look at?
Absolutely. I think that um, when you have the choice, and I'm sure he had some control in that respect, the opportunity to play at home is something that every kid dreams about. I was fortunate enough to do it. I didn't plan on doing it. I signed a 3 year deal and then got traded a year later. So, um, but it was kind of cool to go back to Toronto. I'm from Toronto, be able to play there. I think every kid wants to do that. I think that that's something that you want to check off the box, certainly. But I think first and foremost, it's about winning. I
Yeah.
think winning trumps that. So, um, but yeah, I think it is a factor, especially when you start thinking about, oh, I'm at the end of my career. My parents haven't gotten to see me much. You have young family. It'd be nice to have family around. So all of those things certainly do come into consideration.
And on that note, kind of you have Dmitry Orlov, got John Klingberg, got Nick Leddy. Those are not local boys by any mention to San Jose, but they're getting kind of later in their careers and they're looking for other opportunities. And San Jose came along and gave them opportunities here to extend their careers or reestablish themselves, like John Klingberg. I know for you, you got into, you're still doing your thing during the playoffs, so you probably have a little bit of feel for what Klingberg kind of brought there to the Oilers when he came back. As a whole, what do you like about what San Jose's done, or what do you not like about what they've done?
I think they have addressed a need, and I think that as you try to implement and integrate younger players into your lineup, you still have to have veterans that are savvy and know how to close out games. And if you think about, and you'll have the better numbers wise, how many games? I believe it was 22 or something, a really high number of 1-goal games that the Sharks had lost. That's why you shore up your defense. That's why
Mm-hmm.
you bring in veteran defensemen who will help you close out those types of games. So, really smart move, I believe, by Mike, going out and getting those types of players on the back end that'll help insulate the group a little bit better. Give a guy like Luca Cagnoni opportunity perhaps to play at the very least half the games. He ended up have it in front of me here with 52 points, second in the team in scoring. Like that was a remarkable first campaign for him. So I look at their roster, I look at the opportunities for young players to step in. You do need to insulate them, and I think it's really smart to get ahead of the market and get some of those veteran guys. I was lucky enough to play with Nick Leddy, know him personally. He was a rookie when we won
Yeah.
a cup in 2013. So quality person, um, quality player, can skate like the wind, and will certainly help the defense.
Did he reach out to you at all, just knowing that you have a tie to San Jose?
Not yet. I think maybe
Okay.
he lost my number or something, but no, no. He probably
uh,
doesn't realize it. I will definitely reach out to him.
yeah.
Looking forward to catching up with him as well.
Do you think it lights a fire a little bit under him? Obviously, he didn't have the type of season he wanted to. He's coming off a guy who has, I believe, over 1,000 games in the NHL. He's won a cup, like you said, and so to not have the season that he wants, and knowing that he was a high level player, the Sharks are going. They have like you're rolling the dice with house money, right?
Yeah, I think it's a brilliant move. I think there's a lot of hockey left in him. I don't think he can be a 3-4 anymore. I think he'll be a very serviceable, really reliable type of defenseman that can transport the puck, can skate himself out of trouble, checks with his legs. Not going to outmuscle you, not overly physical. But the game's trended in his favor, in my opinion, in the last 5 years, and the skill set that he brings to the table. The only bone I'll pick with him, and you can give him trouble about this. When he was a rookie, I told him, you got to work on your one timer. And I've seen him one time the puck. He still hasn't worked on it, but that's not his game. He's a really good, smart player that I think will definitely help the Sharks.
I'm sure that'll come up in conversation when you cross paths with him again because you're going to be back, so doing some stuff for ABC Sports, so that'll be good. At least I hope so. We haven't had the full-on meetings here as I'm talking about that, but we from the outside say, oh, Mike Grier added 5,000 NHL games of experience to this lineup. When you add in Jeff Skinner, Ryan Reeves as well up front, what does that actually mean for the locker room, though? In your experiences, what does that actually mean? We could talk about 5,000 games of experience, but for the young guys like Macklin and Will Smith, Colin Graff, all these guys, what is it going to actually mean in terms of relationships and in the most sacred area of the team?
I think the easiest way to explain it to me would be that when you're a younger player in the first couple of years, when adversity hits as a young player, what do? You look at across the room and you watch and you learn from some of the older players that have been through this type of thing before. You reach out to them, you lean on them and ask them questions. And that knowledge is invaluable. And you don't get that from a distance. You only get that playing with veteran players. For me, it was guys like Mike Keane, Scott Mellenby, Dallas Drake, Keith Kachuk, Al McInnes. Those are the guys, Jeff Courtnall, that you lean into, you ask questions from, that you don't get that. They're not telling you those things if you're not teammates. They're not sharing and being vulnerable and telling you, hey, you should think about this, or that's normal, and calming you down. And then there's the in-game stuff we haven't even talked about. It's
Yeah.
the moments in between periods where they say, guys, we're fine. Keep playing the same way. And I think sometimes the tendency, when you don't have much experience, you really just haven't done it. You haven't been through it before. So it's invaluable. It's so important. And I'm not surprised that Mike recognizes that that was a need, and wants to make this team better. And I think he has the advisors around him to help make those proper decisions and evaluations. And I think we all know this about Mike, is that nothing is made on a whim. No decision is made. No stone is unturned. Very thoughtful, very pragmatic, and very patient in what his plan is. And this is part of his plan.
So when you think about it, fans see what Mike Grier has been doing. As a former player, when you look at Mike Grier doing, what stands out to what you're talking about, where maybe the fans don't notice what he's doing? They just see like, oh, he's building players, he's using pieces and stuff like that. But from a player standpoint, from around the league, what have you heard or really stands out to you about Mike Grier, the now general manager?
Just that he's very thoughtful, very thorough, um, and nothing is done without the appropriate investigation or time, or using counsel and using his resources and people that he knows, and having played 1,000 games. So um the Sharks are in unbelievable hands. And I think that the
Mhm.
most important part is that it's clear to me from the outside, and this is from the outside, that ownership and management have had a very patient approach. I think that the fun part for us as fans and broadcasters is that the play of Macklin, the play of Will, have expedited some of those decisions, but it hasn't expedited it by 3 years. It sped it up by a
Mhm.
year or two. So, but those are all positive things, and I think that uh, you should be more wary if he went out and signed guys to 7 and 8 year deals at this point. I think
How do you
as a fan, I'd be more nervous.
How do you not get caught up in that? If you're an executive, and I'm sure around the league, it's not always the same. It's like, oh man, Macklin just had a sensational 18-year-old season. He's only going to be 19 next year. Let's try and push this window while he's still on an entry-level deal and all this. How hard is it to not get swept up in that type of emotion and look bigger picture when all you see present is like this kid can be it.
Yeah, I think what you're doing is you're constantly looking at your board. You're
Hmm.
constantly looking at your chart. You're projecting, where's Cardwell going to be? Where's Cagnoni going to be? Where's Graf going to be? How's Colin White going to fit in here? And when you do those evaluations and you're looking at it from a macro view, then you can make pragmatic, smart, good decisions that have the long-term vision in mind. And then there will be a point, and I think that point will be in 2 years, in my opinion, maybe it's three, where they're going to get to a point where they're going to have to go out and spend and a max contract. I think they're moving the contracts to 6 years or 7 years, and
Yeah.
go out and get a guy like that, because now they're at that point to take the next step. So I don't think they're there. I think that you're right. The tendency is to take a breath, wake up in the morning after Macklin had an unbelievable night, and still stick to your plan.
Yeah. I mean,
Even though his play is making you feel like, oh man, we got
let's
to
do
take
it.
another step. Yeah,
Well,
let's do it.
I was on fully on that board. I was like, oh, let's go sign Mitch Marner. Let's go all do this. But you're talking about the term issue to this as well. He didn't tie himself up in too many contracts. Maybe he overpaid a little bit, but they're 1 or 2 year deals that are going to come off the books by the time you're going to have to pay Macklin, Celebrini, Will Smith, which is actually because of the entry level deal right now, it's going to be sooner than you think. Which comes to the other point of this is, do you think he did enough to prove to the young guys who are going to need to sign a contract, like William Eklund? We barely even spoke about William Eklund, who signed a bridge deal. But do you think he proved to them that the guys he brought in, they're not looking at 30 or 20 wins, 30 wins. They want to try and be in it as deep as possible. Maybe the playoffs are still not in the real realm. But if you're still kind of floating there at the trade deadline, that's got to be progress. But do you think the young guys actually see that?
I think they do, and I think my hope is that it's not just the organization. That's your hope is that their parents, and your hope is that the coaching staff, and your hope is that their agents are telling them, let's not be crazy about this. You're getting an unbelievable opportunity to play minutes you're not getting on a contending team. You're not going to be getting on a team that's contending for a Stanley Cup. So there are a tremendous amount of positives to take out of this, and you're not in the place in your career to be demanding anything. You're in the place of your career to be thankful for where you are and the opportunity to be on the power play, the opportunity to play 18, 19, 20 minutes, to make mistakes, to be a part of the process and have a longer term vision, which doesn't change who they are as a competitor and who they are day to day and how they want to get better. But I think that's where really smart counsel from parents, agents, and management explaining where they are and how things are going to go. And I think times have changed, honestly, Alan. I think that communication from the organization likely has to happen or will happen at some point here in the next year and a half, particularly to your core players,
Yeah.
like that.
Well, it's funny. Macklin Celebrini going to be 19 years old. And thing I noticed about draft night is he was the representative from the current Sharks roster calling every single one of the draft picks. He's been in the league 1 year, and he's already the guy that, usually it falls to your captain or someone of your leadership group. And obviously the Sharks don't have a captain right now with Logan Couture on IR, not able to play. But that stuck out to me. And from what I heard is that he wanted to do that. It wasn't the Sharks or Warzo asking him to do it. He said, give me the numbers. I'm going to call the guys.
I love it. Yeah, I mean, I think I knew that halfway through the season that he will be a captain, and I do have a strong opinion about it because I've been on teams where we didn't have a captain. At the end of my tenure in St. Louis, we didn't have a captain. I went to Andy Murray and said, "You need to name Doug Wade our captain," and management didn't want to do that. What I didn't know is they were planning on trading him. So that didn't happen. I was in Toronto when we traded Phaneuf. I went to back to Toronto, and we didn't have a captain.
Yeah.
I think sometimes you end
Do you,
up in a boat without someone steering it. I think optically wise, it's important to have one person who's setting the tone. Doesn't mean they're leading by themselves.
no.
I personally believe you need an interim captain. That's just my experience being in teams that didn't have one. Because what happens is you're looking around the room because there's 5 people in the leadership group and no one assumes that role. Then it hurts the other 14, 15 guys in the room because no one's stepping up and saying things appropriately.
Do you think that was an issue for those third periods last year where there wasn't the leading captain voice in between the second and third, or even on the bench, like you talked about earlier, that said, hey guys, we're fine, or hey guys, we're going to push it? Do you think that was maybe, they missed having Logan's voice there when those are the moments, right? Those are the moments you need them.
Those are the moments. I think they had leaders. I think it took them a while to find their voice.
Yeah.
I think that, and this is kind of hinted toward what Ryan Warsofsky was kind of hinting toward, to empower the Luke Kennons, to empower, Goudreau and those guys to step up and speak up. It just took them a long time to get there, from what I could tell. And
Well,
I think that does affect it.
Well, Toffoli might be a good guy as like one of those interim guys, been through a winner. He seems to have the respect of the guys, and his contract's 2 or 3 years, and maybe that time Macklin's ready to assume
Honestly,
the position.
that's what I would personally want to do. If I was Ryan Warsofsky, I would push hard to name Toffoli the captain, with the idea that when Macklin's 21 in 2 years, he's the captain, and in his third season he would be the captain. But in fact, he would still be a part of the leadership group. But you lean it.
You got to put an A on his sweater this year.
Yes, I would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think we're breaking ground with that conversation. Put a letter on his chest and let him start learning how to lead. And the other thing is, I think we've talked about this, is he needs to learn what a captain looks like. in and out of the rink, and he didn't have that last year because just Logan couldn't be around the team as much. So I think that's another part of it is if you want Macklin to be the guy, you need to show him what being the guy looks like in a real capacity. But we've settled things with the Sharks. I think we're in a good spot here. Let's talk about you. I'm going to talk about you. You wore 5 different sweaters in the NHL. One was your childhood team. We talked about Toronto. Obviously, won a Stanley Cup with the Blackhawks. You were with St. Louis a long time. You make your home there. San Jose is also a fond place in your heart, which is also kind of not crazy, but you only spent a year in this area, but it seems to like really have made an impact on you. We also have Calgary Flames. When you think about all the sweaters you wore or putting them on for the first time, was there one that's more special, or now that as time gone on, you are really thankful that you had that experience?
Well, I don't want to give you a canned answer. Honestly, they're all special.
Yeah.
In fact, I had a silly thing that I used to do, Alan, that actually have a picture of it framed somewhere. We didn't unpack it because we're not really unpacking here. But it's a picture of me, and the trainer took it of me looking at my name. And I remember I used to do that after every game. And he said, "Why do you do that?" And this is probably like 2 months into the season. And I said, honestly, because I'm grateful that I'm playing in the league, and like I never know when it's going to be the last time. And to me, like it's pretty cool to come from where I came from to play in the NHL. And so he, without my knowing, he ended up taking a picture of me doing it one time and ended up giving me the photo, which I'm very grateful for now. And I only tell you that story to illustrate the point that honestly, like each place was unique, each place was different, each place I love for different reasons. And and it's just you makes you appreciate like playing in the league, and it really is a privilege. So honestly, every place for different reasons was awesome. And you know, like Calgary was so cold. I don't even want to explain it to you. I mean, I got there in February, so we would go have lunch at some bar on the main strip because I was in some furnished apartment they put me in. I was only there for 3 months, and we would like psych ourselves up to like run to the parking lot, which was like catty corner, maybe a 15-second run, and you would be. I don't even know how to explain how cold it was. In fact, I would fill. My kids and my wife were still in Toronto because I got traded. I go, "Hey kids, watch this." And I was FaceTiming them. I filled a cup of hot water, open up my screen door outside, and I threw the water, it turned disintegrated into ice, like just
Yeah,
poof,
just froze.
yeah, just froze. And they were like, "That's ridiculous." It was that cold. So
They're
as
like, I'm
cold
so
as it,
glad I'm not there.
yeah,
I'm so glad I'm not
yeah,
there.
as cold as it was, the people were so nice. Like we almost ended up staying there. Worked out, obviously not staying there because I ended up signing with San Jose, so that worked out much better. And actually, funny story how that came about. Uh, but every place is different.
How'd it come about? How'd you make your way to San Jose?
So I just finished my year in Calgary. They offered me a 2-year deal, but basically half of what I made the 3 years before, right? Each year.
Mhm.
So I had looked at the market. I'm like, I shouldn't be taking half. Well, the market disagreed with me, and that was my new market value. Right? And so here we are, first week of August. I had I don't have a contract. I'm like, I got a tentative deal to go to Lugano in Switzerland. Andy Murray was the coach. He was our coach, coached me for Team Canada,
Yeah,
and coach, gold medal, not a big deal.
no
And
big
then
deal.
coached me in St. Louis. So I reached out to him. He was going to offer me a 2-year deal, pay for the girls' private school. We are going to go to Lugano. He's like, it's an hour from Rome. Like, you're going to love it, blah, blah, blah. So this is like August 6th. I go golfing with Darren Pang, and
Mm.
he's like, "What are you doing next year?" I said, I think I'm going to Switzerland. He's like, "Have you talked to San Jose?" I'm like, "San Jose? No. Why?" Oh, my agent said he talked to everybody. I don't know. He goes, let me text Doug. He texts Doug Wilson. Calls him, "Hey, you could use a guy like Jammer, kills penalties, blah blah blah, tough, blah
Yeah.
blah." And dude, 3 days later, I had a contract.
That's
with
so
San
awesome.
Jose.
That's so awesome.
So needless to say, I owed paying her a dinner.
Well, it
But
still
yeah,
shows you like in any profession they always tell you like it's who you know or your network, and even in that moment you're established veteran, but it's Panger going out of his way to send a text to who he knows, and it ends up 3 days later you have this opportunity. So it doesn't matter what profession you are in, the more you know
oh,
who you know, it's what you get.
it's so true, and it's funny because I talked to my agent. Like at that point, I was getting nervous. I turned
Yeah.
down a 2-year deal. And now I'm going to Switzerland. I probably should have taken that 2-year deal. And then I'm like, "Did you talk to everything?" He's like, "Yeah, I talked to every team." Meanwhile, no offense, they've got so many other things going on. They're probably
Yeah.
thought he's 35, he's fine. Eh, I'm like, "No, I want to keep playing. What are you doing?" And so, um, one of the best things that ever happened to me because that year I ended up playing, I want to say 78 of the 82 games. Um, from not having a contract at the beginning of August to going to San Jose, we ended up losing in the conference finals, unfortunately, to Vancouver, who lost to Boston. But we were right there, and that was Logan Couture's rookie season. We had a fantastic team and great leadership group and awesome guys. But it's kind of funny how it all came together, how I ended up there.
Well, San Jose, you talked about when we first started the Mike is Open podcast. Jamal Mayers, 915 games in the NHL, joining me. And we're going back down memory lane a little bit. San Jose, it doesn't matter if you're here for one season like yourself. Joe Thornton's become who he is, the director of Vibes, a Hall of Famer now. He's actually got an official title and all that, Patrick Marleau. But it doesn't matter how long you come through here. Even the guys who probably like Mikhail Granlund or even less than that coming through for a half season, Cody Ceci, have talked glowingly about San Jose. Is it more about the place, or is it just as much about the organization? And the organization switched hands with Grier from Wilson to Grier. What is it about San Jose and the Sharks that always stick with players?
I think it for me, I think it always goes back to the fact that the people of San Jose love the Sharks, right? And I think sometimes San Jose, and I was only there a year, but I'm going to tell you my opinion.
Yeah.
It feels like they're stuck between they're not really the San Francisco Giants. They're not really the Warriors. They're not really the Raiders. They're not really, but San Jose Sharks was theirs. And
Mhm.
because it was theirs, they just take so much pride and ownership in being Sharks fans, like it's their team, their city, their place, and like that energy and that feeling and the things we would do out in the community and school visits and things we would do. You could feel it as a player. You could feel that energy and I don't know if it's the shape of the building or the way that the acoustics work. I honestly, and I played against the Sharks before becoming a Shark
Yeah.
3 times in the playoffs. I'm not sure there's a louder building in the playoffs.
Well, they
It's
built it
just
straight up.
unbelievable. Yeah,
They built it
it
on
just
top of, so it's just like it's
just
awesome.
acoustics bounces. It's just so loud, and so
Yeah.
it's unreal. The energy there, um, the weather. I would joke with my brother and say it was like November, and I called him. I said, "You won't believe this. There's a cloud. This is ridiculous." It was like the first. I've been there since August. The first time. There's no
Yeah.
bugs. I like to barbecue. I like to cook. We'd eat outside every time. No bugs around. I'm like, Al, you don't even know how spoiled you are. I mean, you went from Hawaii to San. Like, what is going on?
Yeah,
You're.
I went back. I went here to I went, but I did go to Eastern Washington. It gets pretty cold over there. Tri-City
There you
Americans
go.
country and all that stuff. WHL that was fun. But yeah, I know it's pretty spoiled, but also the plane itself isn't that different too than like or maybe the league is kind of caught up, but I think early on it was pretty state of the art, or the way that they're treating their players is also different too, or was.
Oh, yeah. And like with the meals at practice, the things that they were doing, I never seen that before. Like
Hmm.
we'd all have lunch there at the rink. They're making sure they're taken care of, which I thought was cutting edge.
Yeah.
The workouts with Mike and just the things they were doing was and you know what? They brought in the right people, the right leadership group from Patty to Jumbo and Cranky to Danny Boyle and the right mix of young guys with Seto and Jason Demers and a lot of young guys that contributed really that were awesome. So Yeah, it was a great
So
place to play.
they have sales tax, but they take care of their people when you come on over, right? Like, and
There you
also
go.
like if you're winning, no one's really gonna. I mean, obviously players are gonna want all the money they can get, but if you're a bona fide Stanley Cup contender, you're gonna go where you think you're gonna win a cup, whether that's 30% off the top or not. I want to play a little game with you.
Let's do it.
How well do you know your career?
Oh, geez. Okay.
Here we go. Who played on more teams, you or Wayne Gretzky?
Me.
You, correct. More games played. I'll tell you. More games played, you or Mario Lemieux?
I do know this.
Oh, good.
The same, but he's got about 4,000 more points.
Yeah, they are the same. I thought it was awesome. I was like, oh, 915, 915. So that was pretty cool going through there. And then more points, you or Ryan Reeves?
Oh, me.
That's right. But, yeah, and by almost 100 points. The other guy I
Yeah,
have on
I
there
was like, yeah, make sure you let him know that too
Yeah,
when you
yeah.
talk to him.
The other guy I have on there is Patrick Maroon that I was also going to do, which is, I thought maybe
Ooh.
Matt, you think a little bit harder.
I'm saying he probably has more.
Yeah, by about he has about 323. But
Okay.
you're right in there. You're right in there. So more penalty minutes. You or Evgeny Malkin?
Ooh. I'm gonna say me.
You would be wrong. Evgeny Malkin has 2 more penalty minutes than you. I also thought Joe Thornton is not too far away at 1272 as well. I thought that would have also
Nice.
maybe would have tripped you up here. And the last one for you, I see sometimes I'm trying to find this, but who has more postseason appearances, you or Ilya Kovalchuk?
Oh, me.
That's right. Well, I mean, you have quite a few. I mean, it's impressive. You have 7, right? 5, 6, or 7?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
7.
yeah. So 7. That's a lot. I mean, I was going through it. I was like, I can't find too many, and I wanted a name that was gonna, I mean, he scored a lot of goals, had a lot of
Yeah, I did.
points,
I like that one.
but he didn't. He only had 3 postseason appearances, 3 or 4. So you're way ahead of him, and you also have the cup.
That's right.
They have the cup. What is that moment like when you see your name on the Stanley Cup?
Honestly, it's a little bit surreal. Um, it's something that I'll give you an example. Like I played till I was 38, so you get to 36 and you're like, this just isn't going to happen. I just got to come to terms with this. Like,
Yeah.
this is not happening for me. And I think I realized that the way that I carried myself, the way that I competed in practice, in games, showed up and was, I felt like a, a teammate that cared for my buddy and everybody on the staff, everybody. I realized, like, you know what? I've been a winner this whole time.
Mhm.
And I don't need a cup to validate that. Then you win, and you're like, oh, but having this cup is so nice.
There it is.
It's so
That,
nice.
it's so nice, and you could. I just you could take your kids. I'm sure your kids saw it, but also down the road, their kids can go see it at at the museum at the Hall of Fame, and your name will always be there. That's so cool, and I think that's part of history. Things that you can't ever take away, and that's the generations that come after you are gonna they're gonna know that you can't. Your name is gonna be there forever, and your kids, if you're blessed, will have them, and if those kids will have, like, it just will go on forever, and that's pretty cool to see. And I'm sure that's got to be special in its own right, knowing that dad, granddad, whoever is always going to be right there on Lord Stanley.
Yeah, you're right. It's funny when the very next day when we won the cup, Taser texted me and said, "Hey, the cup's coming to pick you up first." I was like, because basically I was older and he knew I went to bed at 4 and they stayed up all night. Anyway, it did come to my house first. And as I'm sitting on the little mini bus,
Yeah.
Mercedes bus thing, the cup carrier guy was there and he's like telling me about the history of the cup and explaining things to me. And I'm like, so how long is our name going to be on there? And he said, your guy's name. And he like went through it. He's like, you guys will be on the cup for 58 years. And because what happens is after it fills up,
Uh,
it starts moving up. There's 4 rings that are equal sized. And after they have to put on new teams, they bump it up, and once you get to the end point, they take off the top one and they put it in the Hall of Fame. So technically on the cup, I think I have obviously about less less than that. So that, yeah, I got a lot of
Hopefully,
time.
yeah, hopefully you won't be here when they take it off.
Yeah, 30 something years more. So it'll be on there long enough for kids and grandkids and
That's
to go take a look.
and
So
then they go to the
that
Hall of Fame, and then they can take a look after that too if they really need to do it. So
that's right.
on the idea of kids and those podcasts, I like to talk about dads and what our advice can be to new dads or what they're out there. You started this whole thing off with a great topic of specializing kids, yes or no, and you said at a certain point, let's specialize them and let's figure it out. My caveat to you or ask you, but you have to know that that kid is capable of specializing, right? Like
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like
Yes.
you can't just specialize because, oh, he's going to specialize. And we think
Yes.
like he has to be good enough. And I think that's the
Yes.
thing that's lost now is that kids specialize when they shouldn't be specializing.
Yeah, you're right. So what I like to say, and I have said for the last 15 years, Alan, is that I always tell my kids this, I tell other people this. I'm like, my kids drive the bus.
Mm-hmm.
So, oh, oh, my daughter said she wants to play Division 1 college soccer. Oh, you do? Well, you're going to need to do ball skills.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you want to do ball skills? Well, it's going to be 3 days a week, and you're going to have to consistently go to this lesson and work hard. And okay, you want to do it? Okay, then I'll I'll help you do there. I'll research it and find out who the best in town is and get you to work with that person. But oh, you want to do this next? Oh, but you're gonna have to improve your fitness. Well, you're gonna have to start doing sprints, 200s, 100s, 50s, plyometrics, jumping, bounding.
Yeah.
Okay, this is what you got to do. You got to go
Yeah.
do the work. So, in my opinion, I always say they drive the bus. I'll help steer them.
Mm-hmm.
I- Um, like with my son, he wants to get better. I'm like, you got to shoot pucks every day. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not telling you to go shoot pucks for an hour. No, I've never said that. I think it's unrealistic. We're very lucky when we were kids, even though I'm much older than you. Our I
Yeah,
went out.
I'm at retirement age or 36 years old. Got to come to grips with my life right now.
There you go. So I always say, like, go out. We could go out and play shinny with the neighbors, and street lights came on, and I'd come home. I grew up in the city in Toronto. Our kids have to have play dates to get together. So it's
Mm-hmm.
unrealistic. So basically, when they're working on their own game, whatever sport it is, they're by themselves. They can't do it for more than 15 minutes, in my opinion. So I always say, go shoot pucks for 15 minutes, then go do something else.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't feel like work. And you know what ends up happening? He shoots pucks for 15 minutes in the morning, shoots pucks one more time after dinner. Now he shot for 30 minutes. And I'm like, and I also ask kids, is it important to shoot pucks for an hour 3 times a week or 15 minutes every day?
Yeah.
And they usually say they always pick the hour. I'm like, no, every day, 15 minutes. That's it. Just
Yeah.
15 minutes. If you're a basketball player, shoot free throws, work on your layup, work on your left hand, 15 minutes. That's it. And
Yeah.
then do something else. And so that's my whole point is they have to drive the bus. Like, parents are shelling out all this money and all this extra stuff, and when the kids don't even want to do it, they don't even want, but if they're driving it, I'm
That's
okay.
it. That's got to be the caveat for every dad I've brought on here, and I've had some professionals. I had a buddy that was a minor league baseball player, got drafted. Like it's all about what the kid is going to tell you want. It can't be the other way around. And going on the local news circuit, I've been in a lot of small towns, a lot of high schools. Parents are usually the worst part. And so
Yeah.
but when you come across someone like yourself who was a professional at a high level, anybody else, those parents usually are not the worst. And so, why is it that parents who think that they know what it takes to get their kid to be a D1 player, a scholarship player, the 0.5%, 1% to be a professional, they are usually the worst people to deal with. And it's the ones who actually know what they're doing that are the calmer ones that are, you don't hear, yeah, I know you coach and stuff like that. And I'm sure you're passionate, but I don't see you as a guy that's yelling at the refs like
No.
like those. I don't understand how that gets broken. It's the guys and the parents who haven't accomplished what they want to accomplish, and I think that's probably it, right? They haven't accomplished what they want to accomplish, and they need their kids to do it.
That's exactly it. I always tell the boys, our team, I always say, guys, this is your journey. This is not my journey. This is you have to decide what you want to get out of this.
Yeah.
Like, I don't I've already done it. Like, I don't need this to validate anything.
Hmm.
I don't walk with my chest out because we're in the final of a tournament and I see those guys doing that. And I'm like, they're 12. What is wrong with you? Like, it's so I always think there's a long game too. I'll give you another example. I always tell crew who's going to be 13 in November, I always say to him, I don't know what kind of player you're going to be, buddy. He goes, what do you mean? I go, I'll know when you're 25 what kind of player you are. If you're still playing at 25, I'll be able to say that's who you are as a player. I don't know because I don't want them to. What happens is he's a late bloomer growing wise, like he hasn't hit puberty. Other kids are bigger, stronger, and perhaps having a little bit more success now. And I'm like, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
I'm not a small guy. You're gonna be 5'10", 6 foot.
Yeah.
I'm 6'1". You're gonna get to 5'10". That's big enough for hockey. You'll be fine. So you get them to think about just enjoy the process of getting better. And what I also want to mention to you, Alan, is that sometimes as coaches and as parents, we want newness. And unfortunately, becoming really good at something requires monotonous daily behavior. And
Hmm.
what I mean by that is I do skills, let's say in the morning with kids, and the warm up has been the same for 5 years. But the first 10 minutes is the same. Why? Because I'm not going to do something new so that the parent up there can look and go, oh, look at that new thing. Look at that new thing. No, no. What makes people proficient and really good at something is doing this, enjoying the monotony of the same thing,
Yeah.
the same thing. That's where you become really good at something.
I just saw something on Instagram because obviously everything on Instagram's Bible, but it's to your point is like everyone used to say or says for your workouts, if you're just your daily workouts, you should do different workouts all the time because it mixes up the muscles and it confuses them, which to a point is kind of right. But also to your point, if you just kept doing the same workout over and over and over again, you're still going to get fit. You're still going to keep doing what you do and you're going to know how to do it extremely well. And I think that's also a good thing. You don't always have to go out for the most like cutting edge, who's doing the coolest drills or who's the new guy on the block. Just maybe go to the guy who has 900 games in the NHL and say, hey, what did you do? And let's just keep doing that. You have the special duality of being a girl dad and a boy dad. Has that changed how you push them as athletes or push them in whatever they've decided they wanted to do? You didn't always know that they wanted to be D1 athletes or a hockey player if they were really talented in something else. But have you had to kind of adjust how you coach them or parent them or anything like that in driving their interests?
So that's a really good point. I think that so to give you an idea, my oldest daughter is now a sophomore because soccer starts right away
Hmm.
at Kansas State playing soccer. They're there already. They play their first game next week. Um, she started 9 games as a freshman, only freshman to start any games last year. So she's a attacking midfielder. Um,
Rocket of a shot.
He has a really good shot, but very cerebral, smart. Not going to burn you with her speed or anything, but she's very technical on the ball and very spatially aware and like really
Hmm.
good skill like distributing. Um, I think it's less about their gender and more about their personality. And
Mm.
so, to give you an example, my older daughter, I can like get on her about the game, be like, after a game, and just say that wasn't even close. And for me, to give you perspective, what I look for when my kids are playing sports is I want them playing fearlessly. I want them competing, and I
Yeah.
want them playing without worry about making a mistake. And what I mean by that is like you're supposed to turn the ball over. That's because you're creative. I want to
Hmm.
see your effort when you do turn it over to get it back. That's all I want to
Hmm.
see. And then go do it again. And if you ask my older daughter, I would say to her, "You're way too safe." I'm like, that couldn't even have been fun. What are you doing? Like, you
Yeah.
got to create. like creating's fun. And so I think that for me was how I communicated with her. Whereas my second daughter, who is a few years younger than her, she's 17 now. She's a defender, so different set of circumstances. But I also knew I had to communicate with her in a different way.
Hmm.
Saying the same things in the same tone in the same way wouldn't work. And
Right.
so less for me about gender and more about personality
Yeah.
and how I communicated to each of them. And then going back to my son, he's more like the first one in the sense where I can be like, buddy, oh, that wasn't close. He's like, what are you
Yeah.
talking? Like, I'm not even talking about what. Like, yeah, you had a goal and 2 assists, but you got to get on the puck. You're waiting.
Yeah.
And so, I think that,
Well, I think
but
that,
the balance has to be right, right? So I have to
yeah.
make sure you can't hammer a kid and say you did these. It's got to be like you got to know the ratio. So
Yeah.
for me, I know the ratio for each kid is different, good to bad. Oh, you
Yeah.
did 4 things good, 2 bad. I know with one of them, I can't do that. I have to go 5 good, one bad because all they're hearing is the bad. I'm like, I just
Yeah.
said 5 good things. What are you doing?
Yeah. 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 Well, and that's also, I think, another good point to what you said is that every personality is different, but also understand what that player, that your kid as an athlete is. If he or she is supposed to be a distributor or creative, like you can't ask that person to be like, oh, why didn't you score 30 goals or have 30 points in a game? If your job is to be a distributor or you're a big guy and you're rebounding, and like understanding what the role of that athlete is and what their capabilities are, and not all of them are the same. And it takes time. Like, it had to take time to figure out, but you have to take the time, right? That's the
Yes.
biggest thing. Like, you have to take the time to understand the different personalities of your kids. And just going in there hardcore, if you don't take the time, you're not going to understand your kids and how to really push them, whether that is in dancing, singing, whatever it is. You got to understand their capabilities and their limitations.
Absolutely. And the last thing I would say about that in particular, when it comes to any of your kids, none of this is worth ruining or affecting the relationship, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, geez, like, no, I'm intense. I'm an intense person. I always have to have check-ins like, hey, like, are we good? Like, because this is not that important that I want to
Yeah.
affect our relationship. And I even to my daughter who's at Kansas State, I said to her this summer, I said, because she's working her tail off, having to do this beep test and do all this running. I
Yeah.
said, she's a 4.0 student. She wants to be a dentist. I'm like, you don't have to play soccer, right? Like you could stop. Like you don't have to do this. I only say that because I don't that's not that's one part of her. She doesn't have to do this. Like
Yeah.
I don't want them to feel like they have to do it. It's their journey. If they want to do it, I'm going to support them and help them, but and push them to get to where they want to be as a player. But it's sports. It's like supposed to be fun. It's you don't have to do it. Like
No.
so.
And I think that helps, like you're saying, if you do get to a high level, or your daughter is a D1, that is a high level. But after that's over, whenever that playing career comes to an end, they still see themselves as more than just their sport. And I think a lot
Yes,
of young kids, when they're growing up in a very deliberate, very strict household when it comes to athletics, they don't see themselves larger than that. So I think that's a good thing what you're doing. Another great advice for the dad side of this whole thing. But I've taken way too much of your time. I told you we were going to do something. I'm bad at timing, so we're gonna shut this down, and maybe we'll circle back at another time and come on back. But Jamal, I appreciate you taking the time, Jammer. It's been great. It's been a tough time not having our buds in the studio or via Zoom or whatever it is. But I think thanks for taking the time and coming and joining me and having some fun.
absolutely. Looking forward to this season working together again.